Fair warning, I'm going to start running around like with my cock out waving the American flag at some point during the episode. Anyway, hopefully we didn't start yet. He's going to fucking have to edit the first like 30 seconds of his...
Yeah, if you look up in the top right corner, you can see the little button that says live.
It's live now.
Yeah, just as you started talking about your cock. But don't worry, I'll put that in the end of the show.
Alright, sounds good. That'll be like a bonus.
So
I believe you mean boner.
Talk in the end.
Hello to all of our listeners out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 32 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, recorded on July 4th, 2016. Joining us this evening, we have Marty. Marty's a sport shooter and hunter from Southern Ontario. Hey, Marty, how's it going?
Pretty good.
You got home successfully with your new AR upper?
Yeah, the upper. It's not a full AR yet.
Well, it's half of an AR, and that's what counts.
Yeah.
Because you were wrong, but you're trying to fix yourself.
I'm doing my best.
We've got Gavin. Gavin's a business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, and the host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club. Hey, Gavin, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Oh, not too shabby, thanks. I will murder all of you in your sleep. Don't mess with my show notes. We also have Tyler. Tyler's the co-founder, co-host of the International Liberty or Death podcast, a competitive shooter with the edgy shitlord shooting team, which is now unofficially sponsored by Monster Assault. An enthusiastic supporter of helicopter rides for his political enemies, and he's been known to help the Brockville Police Department in training for high-risk takedowns. Hey, Tyler, how you doing?
Good to be back, Andrew.
I'm happy to have you. It's a little different. I have to edit this time instead of yours, because the last couple of times we've been together, you've got to do the editing.
Yep.
Also here this evening, from where the stars and night are big and bright, a semi-pro shitster, an international outlaw, at least according to the Brockville, Ontario Police Department, we have Matt Wendell. Also a gun enthusiast, libertarian, and soon to be a father. Hey Matt, how's it going?
Pretty good, gents. How y'all tonight?
We are well, thank you.
We're going to have to issue a retraction for the pronunciation of Matt's last name.
How do you say that?
Wendell.
Wendell? Not Wendell?
Wendell.
It's only one L.
You got, oh. Is that what's in the show notes?
Yeah.
If you actually read it...
Whatever. English is not my first language. It's fine.
Oh, it's not? What's your first language? Cuckery?
Don't... Did I get everybody? Okay.
It's too early in the show, Matt.
Okay, I'll save it.
Besides, we call that French here.
Now I have to leave that in. As always, I'm your host, Andrew. I'm a libertarian competitive shooter, gear reviewer at everydaytactical.com, and a gun club director. And I have not recently had any visits from the local constabulary.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. And if you go onto the iTunes and leave a 5-star review, you may be able to get me to drink the drink of your choice within reason. It has happened before several times.
I'm saving it. I'm not saying
All right.
I think there's a joke with farm animals involved somewhere in there, but I'm going to save it.
That's pretty so we're going to do what is everybody drinking, as always, on my screen from left to right. We're going to start with Gavin.
I am drinking Labatt's Blue. These are left over from the Thursday night when I was drinking with the boys in Brockville.
Right on. Tyler, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Carling, also left over from when we were all drinking together in Brockville.
Nice. Marty.
I have some weird mead from Niagara that tastes like cough syrup.
That sounds terrible. I'm sorry. Matt, what are you drinking? Do they have, like... Wait, better question for Matt. You're in America. It's the 4th of July. Is there a flag on the can?
No, but there is like a Hispanic like steer, and it says "Es Miller time." So I don't, you know.
Seems
So
it's
funny
kind
and
of
vaguely
fitting
racist.
about where this country's headed, but we won't get into that because we're not alt-right. But yeah,
So it's kind of like Mexican Coke, but it's Mexican Miller.
Yeah, but I do have a really cool tall boy koozie that fits it in. It's camo. It's got Mineral Wells State Park. Awesome park if you're an American listener or a Canadian and you want to go travel down to Texas. A lot of fun.
Right on.
Fuck.
I've got Bo's Lug Tread Lager that Marty was kind enough to leave at my house. And that's what we've been drinking. So I guess the first thing is, on Friday we want to wish all of our Canadian listeners a happy Dominion Day. And for those of you that don't believe in that, a happy Canada Day. And today we have happy Separation of the Colonies Day.
Dominion Day, mate.
What's that?
It's Dominion Day, baby.
It is Dominion Day. 149 years, right?
Yep.
Yep.
This Canada Day nonsense is right up there with that nonsensical flag and changing the words to the song.
I know. It's a non-stop onslaught to destroy Canada's heritage.
Well, you see, if you just make it multicultural enough, we don't actually have a distinct Canadian culture anymore.
I like where this conversation's headed.
Yeah, there are helicopter rides for everybody.
Oh, lots of helicopter fuel will be involved.
That's what we need to
Alright.
do before that the helicopter business starts. We need to get into the fuel business
Yep.
and the rope business.
Well, that's how we're going to afford the helicopters, right?
At least your buddy that works for Bell Helicopter will be gainfully employed for years to come.
Oh yeah.
Anyways.
All right, let's get into the show because we've got the intro stuff out of the way. We'll start with the recap of the charity shoot, and we'll start with the really exciting stuff on Friday morning. Tyler and Matt, this is all up to you.
I'm actually really tired of telling this story, so I'm just
One more
gonna
time.
serve it up to Matt. He can freestyle it,
son of a
embellish it. He can lie, whatever.
You would well, okay. I'm tempted to ask. Well, fuck it. All right, I'll give the brief rundown. We were going to the pistol training course on Friday morning. This was like 2 days after I arrived to Canada. I got an AR with me, my SIG 226 with me, and a non-restricted, like a Remington 597 22 LR little rifle with me. Everything's locked up, cased up, trigger locked on the restricteds. Everything's all in order. We load up the car to go to the pistol course. So, you know, to free up our hands, right, Tyler's wearing his plate carrier, and I'm wearing my chest rig. So, you know, Tyler's trying to find the GPS thing on his phone because instead of using up just a tiny bit of data on his cell phone, he's got to try to get to the Wi-Fi and get the map onto his giant, like, you know, Mount Everest hiking GPS unit thing. And so we're having trouble getting the signal and getting that all situated. And meanwhile, I'm like getting a little bored, so I start blasting like Five Finger Death Punch, and I'm like fucking rocking out in my chest rig in the car, all buckled in. And it's like I crank it way the fuck up to like 12. And Tyler finally comes back, and we're about to go, and we turn it down a little bit, and all of a sudden you hear just like, "Driver, put your hands out the window," over the loudspeaker. And at that point, I was like, "What the fuck?" I didn't know. I didn't even realize or think that they were talking to us. And basically, that's how it went down. Tyler got extricated out of the vehicle first, cuffed and everything. You know, according to Tyler, you know, had a knee in the back when he was getting cuffed. You know, this is why the whole point, or the whole time this is going on, we got guns drawn on us. Same thing happens to me. I get taken out of the car. You know, slowly giving directions one by one of what to do. You know, open the door with your right hand, unbuckle with that hand. Then they get me out and cuff me up. They gave me a nice young female police officer to check my pockets, which was all right. What else happened? They gave me 2 handcuffs because, you know, they couldn't handle the Texas beef. I guess they thought I was going to break out. Got me in the back seat for a while. It was hot as balls in there. And as they're rifling through everything, you know, according to Tyler, I couldn't hear that conversation, but basically they're instantly thinking they got us on something. As soon as they realize we're not like actively shooting people, they're like, all right, we're going to get these guys on something. So they think they got Tyler on his non-restricted rifle, which is a beautiful rifle. I think he's got it with him.
This rifle right here.
Yeah. Swiss Arms Black Special, lovely rifle.
Damn
According
straight.
to plainclothes, dudes, apparently it's a weapon of war. But that's so they thought they got him on that, but it was in transport, so all it had to do was be unloaded, etc. And finally I tell them, I'm like, y'all, my paperwork is in the red folder on the dashboard, which they stole my damn red folder, by the way. I couldn't find it in any of my luggage.
Those
Bastards.
fuckers.
They probably need another folder for all their paperwork of what they do to each other after work. But so I tell them, I'm like, dude, my paperwork's in this folder. All the non-restricteds are case locked, whatever. And it's clear at that point, that we're not breaking any laws, that we're above board law-abiding citizens. But you could see the contempt in their face, some of them a little bit. Like, they thought they were going to have this career-making, bust, that they were going to stop, like, this international terror incident. And after that point, it's like some of the stuff, they were just looking to get us on something. They were trying to. Tyler mentioned how they didn't even know amongst each other, the officers of the law, if body armor was legal or not, basically to be in possession of or to wear. And so there was still a little bit of hesitation, even once I heard over the radio that, they're like, oh, yeah, these guys got all kinds of permits, whatever, it's all good. You just don't know at that point, because if they could find anything, like when we mentioned on our quick recap of it, completely closed, whatever, beer in a cooler for after a hot day of pistol training, once we put the guns back up, you want to socialize a little bit. But I guess there's certain statutes they could have gotten us on if it was within reach of the driver. So at that point, you're just nervous a little bit if after it kind of gets less intense and the adrenaline dump starts wearing off a little bit from having a hot gun pointed in your face. And I'm not talking about gay porn here. The adrenaline dump goes away, and you basically are, looking at, all right, is there anything that they're going to get us on? Are they going to take us down to the station? Are we going to miss out on this course that we paid money for, that I traveled up here to participate in? So, long story short, it worked out to the point of, at the end of it, we were shaking hands with officers, told them about the charity event that we were up there for, which was the next day. They acknowledged the ridiculousness of it, at least to an extent, when they told me, I bet this has never happened to you in Texas. I open carry sometimes, but I usually conceal carry practically every day, except where I'm, where it's not allowed by law. And I've never had an issue. So it's one of those things where they acknowledge the fact that, yeah, we are law-abiding citizens, but it is what it is. It's Canada. They got to do what they got to do, and they had to respond, which Tyler and I would say for the most part agree on, except for minute details like having fingers on triggers. But they had to respond based on what the call came in. And one thing I want to sort of open the conversation up to everybody on the panel is sort of the aftermath of it, right, within like the local gun community and the wider gun community, and that is, I understand how the police have to respond to a call, especially because I don't know what was actually said on that call. If I'm a cop and I'm told guys in body armor's got rifles and he's whatever, like I'm gonna be like, especially a week after what happened in Orlando, I might not know what's going on. But at the same time, the only reason the image of a person in body armor that's not making any threatening gestures, not yelling at people, being intense, being threatening to people is scary, is because it's, to some people, some cultures, it looks abnormal. And I think that's where Tyler and I and a lot of folks, at least that I'm familiar with here in Texas during the whole open carry Texas movement, was normalizing the sight of, say, a pistol on your hip, not concealed, or normalizing the sight of somebody wanting to wear body armor because it's not illegal. So I think there's sort of a conversation that needs to be had and is already been hashed out some in the gun community about, is it a good thing for the image of the gun community, or is it a bad thing, wearing body armor or open carrying or whatever? So that's kind of what I want to get into on this.
We'll throw in a few minor details. Number one, the reason why I was cozying up to the hotel to get on their Wi-Fi was because I burned through the entire remainder of my data for the month the previous night, because after we recorded a live episode, I watched it on YouTube when I was on my data plan and not logged into the hotel Wi-Fi.
While Matt was passed out.
Wow,
that moonshine fucked me up.
That will happen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you didn't mention that I had the Swiss Arms in a backpack with the buttstock poking out.
Correct, the non-restricted. Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So that was also a part of the issue that the guy at the Travelodge had. It was, according to the officer, this is the way the officer described it to me. He said that the person who called in saw us making multiple trips out to the car. And the reason why we were making multiple trips for a pistol course was because we didn't want to leave. We were there for both the pistol course and for the charity shoot. And we didn't want to leave the room full of guns and ammo that we needed for the charity shoot but didn't need for the pistol course. So we thought it was best to retain control of everything and keep it all with us in the vehicle. So we made multiple trips, and I was wearing the body armor, and Matt was wearing his chest rig, not only for the convenience sake and saving an extra trip, but also I had intended on shooting the pistol course with my body armor on. So I just threw it on because this is what I was going to be wearing all day. And like Matt said, it's not illegal, right? And I've worn body armor in downtown Owen Sound, standing there ordering a pizza, you know, and I don't have problems, you know. That's what I like about the comment that the officer made to Matt. Oh, I bet this has never happened to you in Texas. Like, I'm standing there thinking this has never happened to me in Ontario either.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good point.
This is a first. Like, I drive around with a gun rack in my truck all day, and I don't have problems, you know. And I guess one of the officers had said, like, we don't see this around here, you know, and this is why kind of we responded the way we did. And I do think that the caller probably embellished what was going on. He probably spun things out of, you know, to the point where it was no longer actually connected with reality. The call probably sounded something like, there are guys in body armor waving guns around, you know, something like that.
Probably saw your beards and thought you were a terrorist. And
yeah, so, you know, it is what it is. And like Matt said, like, we don't necessarily fault the officers because they're responding to the call they received, and we don't know what that call contained, but we can speculate.
Are they going to give you a copy of that call?
I emailed them, and they never got back to me, so I'm going to have to try and email them again, I guess.
I would love to hear that. And I'd love to see the dash cam video.
Yeah, like, I want the dash. I asked for the dash cam video specifically, actually, but
hell yeah.
Yeah. But you know, yeah, like Matt said, it was all smiles and handshakes by the end. I never actually ended up really getting the address of the gun club before we were detained, so I ended up getting directions from the cops themselves.
Convenient.
They were pretty good. They were pretty good about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I gotta say, like, overall, for me, what the big takeaway was, it wasn't getting put on the ground and then put in the back of a squad car in handcuffs and dealing with all that mess. And even the caller, you know, making that call in, it wasn't that part of the experience that really made me reflect on it. It really was the conversation that needs to continue to be hashed out in the gun community, because unless we normalize that the sight of guns and body armor, especially with connecting guns and body armor not just to what you see on the media of like a terrorist shooting, some people are at war, but if you connect those images to a more normalcy type deal, to where people can actually look not just at the body armor or a firearm, but actually look at the person and decide for themselves, have the tools they need to decide, is that person a threat, you know, because anybody can wear body armor. Somebody could be in a what do you want to call it, like a fake police uniform. Like, I think I'm pretty sure he was quote a cop. Like, everybody thought he was a cop, and it's like, we need to get past these symbols of our gun community, firearms and body armor and stuff, and multicam gear and whatever, as being tools for the left to basically used against us, and we need to make it more normal and let people see that there's a law-abiding citizen wearing that shit. It has nothing to do with the false narrative of the liberal media that's trying to take all this stuff away from us. And in my own personal opinion, when we allow ourselves as a community, as gun owners, to say, you know, this just makes us look bad, We're kind of ruffling too many feathers, and it's not a good image for the gun community to do this, to test the waters like that. I reject that because we're basically giving credence to the liberal narrative of the gun grabbers. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, and
So
I'd be willing to have that conversation with anybody. But
I've got two thoughts around that. So the
Yeah.
first part of that is the anti-gun people up here, the Heidi Rathergens and the Coalition for Gun Control and the Wendy Sukiers, the vehemently anti-gun people in Canada aren't going to make any difference. To them, it doesn't matter what kind of gun it is, or I don't think it's going to matter body armor or camouflage or not. Anyone that has that mentality that's not wearing the badge of the state to them is an evil person, and there's no changing that mentality for the incredibly already off to the left, ban everything for public safety, because if it saves one life, right? But to sort of more to the body of your point, I think the normalization of it is valuable. I don't think a lot of gun owners are going to get behind that in Canada because it's sort of treated as a taboo subject to begin with, so I don't imagine there's going to be a ton of dudes running around in plate carriers to show solidarity with body armor being legal in Ontario.
Yeah, I can't
I wish
imagine
there was.
the trap shooters putting on plate carriers to go shoot trap.
Yeah. There's a lot of virtue signaling going on, and I will say that Matt and I are the only two guys in firearms podcasting that have had guns pointed at them for exercising their freedoms. So talk is cheap. A lot of these guys have virtues that are untested. But what's important to me is that What's important to me is that one of the French guys, one of the great freedom-loving Frenchmen that we had met on the past weekend, he said that after we had left, after we were allowed to go about our business and be on our way, and after the police had left, there were two other guys that came out of the hotel carrying guns in scabbards in their backpacks, just in the same fashion that I was, and they didn't get swatted. And the reason they didn't get swatted was because Matt and I blazed that trail for them and created an environment where the police and the public were more informed. Right? So there's the takeaway right there.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't have to get guns pointed at them because that happened to Matt and I first.
Were those guys wearing chest rigs and plate carriers?
He didn't specify, but the types of backpacks with gun scabbards in them are going to be like the tactical type of backpack. To the layman, it's going to look all the same, I would think.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking that's probably what crossed the line for that dude.
Yeah, what the officer had said to me about the collar was that it wasn't one specific thing, but it was the combination of things.
Yeah.
And so he said it wasn't necessarily the body armor, and it wasn't necessarily the rifle poking out the back or the gun cases. It was all of it. And that, I guess he thought it was unusual and disturbing, and it upset him.
Yeah, but, I mean, none of you guys were brandishing pistols or acting strange or whatever.
Yeah. And that's why I don't hesitate to call this guy a cuck, because we were behaving in a non-threatening manner. There was no furtive movement. There was just nothing that would give anyone any indication that we intended to harm anybody. The fact remains that the mere presence of the guns, the mere presence of the equipment, that was enough for this guy to say, "Oh, I need to. I think a little bit of state violence is going to, make this situation better."
Yeah.
And as a result, Matt and I get guns pointed at us for breaking no laws and threatening no one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like Andrew said, even members of the gun community look at you kind of weird. I wear my plate carrier at the range, even when I'm bench shooting.
Yeah.
Just if for no other reason than it's I'm used to shooting while wearing it. That way, it's also personal protection equipment, which everybody's big on wearing. That's why you've got to wear your ears and eyes and all that. And I mean, even at the shotgun match on Saturday, we were standing not close to those targets, but I mean, you and I both got peppered a little bit with some pellets on the the ricochet. So I mean, that could happen at the range when you're bench shooting. So why wouldn't I want to wear it even when I'm doing that? Not even tactical training.
Yeah, and the officer asked me what I was doing wearing body armor, and I didn't really have an answer for him because my answer is because it's legal and I choose to. And I thought that would be like a very rustling answer to give the guy when it wasn't clear like how the situation was going to play out. So I just said like, we're doing a training course, and I choose to train how I shoot. Train how you shoot so that you shoot how you train. Basically, is the philosophy. And he just kind of let that go. He didn't pursue that line of questioning further. And then 20 minutes later, other officers showed up at the scene, and they started asking questions about the body armor, and I hear them muttering behind the squad car, like, why was he wearing body armor? Does he wear body armor for protection at the range? Like, that was the first thing that came to his mind. And that is a perfectly reasonable, if you have to justify wearing body armor, that's a perfectly reasonable reason.
Yeah, I mean, you are around guns at a range, so
especially at a course where you have like unknown skill levels. You're not training with people you don't know what's going to go down. That's totally reasonable. But just the fact of the matter is, like I said, there's a lot of virtue signaling going on. There are a lot of people who take stands in comfortable territory. Like it doesn't take a bold person to declare that they holster their handgun at the range. Or they only throw their holster on once they get to the range, or they only throw their gear on once they get to the range, because they're in a comfortable environment. They're in an environment where that's accepted. They're not pushing any boundaries. They're not standing for anything because they're doing so amongst their peers, right? They're in their own echo chamber. So, I just feel like Matt and I did something that actually had a marked effect on the experience of the two people who came through the hotel after us, and I'm sure there'll be other shooting events at that gun club, and there'll be similar experiences that the employees will witness, and everybody will be better off and safer for it, because then we'll get guns pointed at them for it. So I think it's a good thing. Obviously, I think it's a good thing, but I'm obviously open to any of my detractors.
Wow. Remember, you can send your hate mail for Tyler to feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Should we get into the meat of the charity shoot, since we?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I think that was the meat of the charity.
That definitely was like the talk of the day,
Dude, so I left about 20 minutes, if that, before this all went down. And I'm in the car, and I get a message from somebody that wasn't there but was on their way there. And they're like, "Did your friends just get arrested?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I have no idea what's going on." So then I had to find out about this through the Facebook. And then I relayed this situation to him. But I mean, I was getting messages about it because there was so much information going around for people that weren't even there yet. So
yeah. Well, social media news travels fast, right?
Yeah, like Andrew had left for the course before us, or at least separately from us.
No, I left before because I'm a good guy. I arrive on time.
Well, we were ready to leave at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
the course started at 10.
If they weren't detained by the state.
We still were only marginally late.
Yeah,
we got there 5 after 10.
I got there way earlier than I needed to, but
yeah.
But
I do want everybody. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Everybody at the course had already kind of heard the rumors that there was some sort of snafu at the Travelodge Brockville, and it was just kind of the rumor mill was doing its thing, and that it involved somebody walking around in body armor, and so Etienne, who did he did an episode with us when we recorded live from Brockville. He said that he hadn't met me yet at the time. He said that they were saying that it probably had something to do with Tyler.
Well, when it was the Travelodge, I mean, it sort of narrowed it down. Who do we know that's staying there? Who do we know that's staying there with body armor?
If the shoe fits.
Yeah, pretty much.
I am very happy with that. If that's my reputation, I'm very content with that.
Yeah. If the body armor doesn't fit, you must acquit. Is that?
Yeah. Let's go with that.
The only thing I just want to caveat our kind of wrap up of the situation with the Brockville PD. We found out who it was at the hotel that called it in, and I'm pretty sure because based on the staff that we saw the guy the day we were checking out. When we took it upon ourselves to clean up after ourselves, like any respectable people would do, especially when you have a lot of beers, and we kind of end up having some people in the room
We filled an entire contractor's bag
Yeah.
full of beer cans.
But I mean, and we're talking to the lady at the desk about how Tyler won the whole thing. We're talking to the lady about the travel and whatever, and we're being friendly and respectable, and we're offering to clean up the room. And it's like at some point, it would have really changed my opinion about the individual that called it in. Especially, I can understand if there are cultures out there where they're just not used to seeing certain things, and I get that. But after the fact, if it all checks out and we're still there at the hotel and we're offering to clean up our mess and we're just being friendly to people, maybe a quick, hey guys, you know what? Just man up and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. Like, it scared the shit out of me. I've never seen that before. And I'm sorry if it, ruined part of your day or whatever. But there was none of that. It was more of a shy, coy, hide in the corner and not talk to these guys because I didn't get them.
A sorry, I didn't know would have gone a long way.
Yeah, I misread the situation.
But
or even if he came out and said like, you guys shouldn't be walking around like that and started cussing us out and stuff. Like then I would have more respect to him because at least he would have stuck to his principles and not like cowered in the corner.
You could have had a conversation with him about it at the very even if it wasn't a pleasant conversation.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That was sexy.
Speak your mind. Speak your mind. That's all I ask of people.
All right, so we're good with that charity shoot stuff. Before we do the charity shoot stuff, shout out to our buddy Benny for coming out for non-alcoholic adult beverages on Thursday night.
Yep.
And putting up with our shenanigans all day on Friday.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was very cool. And making it to the range on Saturday.
Walking.
Walking.
He walked it because he was honoring the Sabbath.
Yep. He's a man of principle and he sticks to his beliefs, and I respect that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Benny. He was a really cool listener to get to interact with.
Yeah.
Because you guys were definitely more well known at the charity shoot than I was. There were some people there that knew of me, but I don't think there was anyone there that didn't know of you.
Think about
by the end of the day Friday.
Don't get too butthurt because we do have like twice as many episodes as you, so
But
Whatever,
about
I'm
the same
not
number of Facebook likes.
It's not a race.
I got more. Everything is a competition. Everything.
You have more?
Yeah, I have more.
How many more? To look at
like a handful more.
How many?
Okay.
Pays for that.
Well, more than a handful is a waste, right?
Yeah.
He's like, if you give me a Facebook like, I'll give you a quick HJ. All right, next. Sorry, what's the next topic? The charity shoot.
The charity shoot itself.
Shoot. Yeah, charity shoot with a good time. Saturday, we got some shooting in. We had like.
That's a great intro to the charity shoot.
All right. You guys all won some stuff?
No, all right. So, Andrew, do you want to? What were we? Charity were we? Doing the competition for? How much money to raise? All that good shit.
Okay, so 6th annual podcast charity shoot in support of Soldier On, which is an organization that is near and dear to me as a veteran. And Soldier On didn't exist when I got out of the military, so I'm really happy that it does now.
Hell.
I find that's a very beneficial program for our veterans, so I'm happy that it exists. I think the final tally was just over $5,500 raised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like more than twice as much as they raised for the previous charity last year.
Which is awesome. I think we were just shy of 100 people at the event.
Yep.
It was very well run. I enjoyed that. I think it was kudos to the New Shooter Canada folks, Kelly and Mike and George, and I feel like I'm missing people. Thomas, Amanda, Wanda, who I guess are not part of their podcast, but we're doing their admin for them.
It's worth saying it again because I feel really bad about this because I was when I was editing the show that we all did together live, we acknowledged everybody under the sun and then only referred to the organizers as the organizers. And that's what happens when you're on your third day of getting blackout drunk. So my apologies for not paying the respects to where they're due properly to actual named individuals. The people with New Shooter Canada did a great job throwing that event.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Kevin, that was the chief range officer for the weekend, had a lot on his plate, and I think he did a very good job with the size of the event. Shout out to my buddy Dan, who was our on-duty paramedic. Glad that Dan didn't have to plug any speed holes in anybody. That was a good time. Who else do we have? The CCFR folks that came down from Ottawa after the AGM and did their thing with Rod Giltaca and Tracy and Trevor and Ryan and Serge and the rest of them. There was minivans full of CCFR people.
A lot of good people there. A lot of good people.
Yeah.
There's literally like one person that likes your show more than likes our show. 237 to 236.
I'm gonna have to work on that.
You guys
It is a
have
very
caught up.
narrow margin.
You guys
It
cut
is a
up.
very narrow margin.
Yeah.
Okay, I will work on that. If you haven't checked out the show's Facebook page, you can see us on Facebook, facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
So like his show, then go like my show, and then go create like a sock puppet account and like my show again.
Oh yeah. I'm about to create 10 fake Facebook accounts just to like our shit.
I accept that. Okay, so with the charity shoot, we had the sponsors, we had the vendors that were there, and then we had prizes. Should we talk about prizes?
Sure.
Okay, what'd you win?
I took home possibly one of many coveted prizes. There were a lot of firearms prizes to be won. There was 2 or 3 Turkish shotguns of various designs, 1 semi-auto and 2 pumps, I believe. There was a Russian pistol, Arsenal Strike Force, I think is the pistol. And then there was a kind of a secret draw that nobody knew about for a Smith & Wesson M&P 45, which I won. And I was just chatting with Thomas Donnelly this afternoon. The transfer just went through in the last day or two, and he's going to get that out to me probably in the next day or two. So, got a brand new pistol.
Yeah,
That's
I came
pretty
away with a brand new tactical scope, basically for my AR. Got checking Brownells for QD mount. They were out of stock, but as soon as possible, I'm gonna get one. I basically got rings on there right now, but before I zeroed it in, I'm gonna get it on a QD mount. It's gonna be perfect for coyotes we're looking to go after here in the near future. Basically gonna mount like a solid green light on there on the AR, and then just shine the coyotes and knock them down. So. I came out basically in the black for my whole trip after taking into account the raffle. But also, I just wanted to caveat what you guys said about the folks that put on the shoot. You know, I came up from a long distance and I got, like the long distance travel trophy or whatever. And what I really came away with was, despite that there is conversations that we can have in the gun community, because we're all different people and we all come from different sort of belief systems. So, of course, there's going to be some differences. But I am really encouraged to basically relay the message to my fellow, American gunnies here, and try to get more of us up there, because it's an awesome experience, and the bonds that we share with you guys that also care about your rights and firearm ownership is really important, especially the way things are going. You just look at the planet right now, what's going on, and I just really respect everybody I met there. Even if we've had differences or even if we don't agree on everything, I respect all of you greatly, and just wanted to say cheers to everybody there, and I hope to see y'all next year.
Right on. I think that we already found out that the 7th annual shoot's going to be in Ontario again, but we don't know where yet.
Nice. But yeah, hold on. One quick thing. Did anyone else hear that somebody actually hunts with an AR?
I know, isn't it amazing? With 30
I got a
round
freedom
mags,
bone thinking about it.
I have my AR with 30 round mags, and then especially if we're going after hogs, I have my 6.26 with 18 round mags in there on my hip, open carrying.
So, important question: hog hunting in Texas, can you do it with a 3-stamp gun?
Yeah, if you want to, you can use silencers, or whatever. A lot of guys do silencers because that way they can knock out like
more hogs.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I could have like a silenced, short-barreled, fully automatic M16 type AR, that would give me the world's biggest freedom boner.
You could probably do that from a helicopter too, right?
Oh yeah,
well,
I've seen a lot of these places
dual-purpose
go out in the
helicopter.
and they give you their ARs that are silenced with night vision scopes and everything. They go up at night and you slay hogs at night. I've also seen videos of guys somewhere in Texas hunting hogs with a minigun, and you just see all these hogs running across the field, and the guys in the minigun like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen a video of Ted Nugent doing that with a minigun.
Probably, yeah.
I just want to be in that helicopter and have somebody ask me, what do you do with the sows? You just lead them a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's Apocalypse
Tubuku.
Now for those of you keeping
Tubuku.
up on your pop culture.
Tubuku.
That's not Apocalypse Now. That's Full Metal
Oh,
Jacket.
oh
actually.
damn it!
That's live. How many people are
Yeah.
watching?
Yeah.
He doesn't know his Vietnam War films.
Yeah.
But
No.
They all blend together. I get
He tries to
PTSD.
out-reference me. You can never out-reference me.
If you're talking about surfing, that's Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, Colonel Kilgore, right? That's the surfing guy.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's get into the main topics for the show. We'll start with the Canada Day celebration at Parliament, which, in my opinion, was our fearless leaders dancing around like fools and being paid public money to do so. So our Governor General, our Prime Minister, and the Mrs. Prime Minister and the Heritage Minister were all dancing around like yahoos, being paid to be there.
While listening to, what was it, Cardinal, I believe?
Yeah, with like terrible, terrible music. But yeah, what happened to having like decorum in our national events?
Hey, if you can do yoga on stage, you can dance to Cardinal at a Canada Day festivities.
Like, I'm all for having Canada Day festivities, but can our national leaders not like present themselves in a more positive light? You embarrass me on behalf of the rest of the world, like.
Yeah, him simply being is an embarrassment to this country. Like, I can't imagine any other world leader taking him seriously. Can you imagine him, like, negotiating with Putin? Like...
No, Putin would be like, no, tiny man, go away, I'm done.
Yeah, and then just get
Just
smacked in the face.
I mean, like, for example, like, he also participated in the Toronto Pride parade, which is a first for a sitting prime minister.
Okay, let's talk about that.
No, I don't want to depart. I don't want to depart from the topic. I'm coming back. I'm circling back. This is not behavior you expect. This is not the dignity you expect from a head of state. That's all.
Well, from any head of state, and that's the thing. Like, as a Canadian, on the political stage, like in the world, I am embarrassed as a Canadian by the behavior of our leaders.
Yeah.
Like, these people make us look like fools on a national political level.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, yeah. Everywhere, every time I talk to a non-Canadian, many of whom I've known for over a decade, if I strike up a conversation with them and I haven't spoken to them for a few months, the first opening comment will be some sort of joke about Trudeau's latest gaffe. The latest embarrassment.
At least he hasn't been caught doing crack yet.
Yet.
I do not think he has the fortitude to be able to handle any amount of any sort of illicit substance.
Well, unless, it becomes cool, and then he can get a selfie doing it.
Yeah.
And get more votes.
I don't know, but
that's a whole thing.
I voted for Harper. Probably not a surprise to many people. But given the choices, given the candidates that were running in my riding, that was the least worst choice. And, I'm not happy with the results of the election, put it that way.
No, well, hey, that's why we have a podcast.
That's why we have a podcast.
No, really, the Trudeau Liberal government is the reason that we do this show. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here.
It's the same thing. Like, today is also the 4th of July, and for Matt, when Matt and I record, and Matt's present on this show, he obviously has complaints about the status quo. We wouldn't be doing this if the U.S. government just adhered to the Constitution.
Yeah, there'd be no need.
There would be no need. If the Canadian government, before passing any law, kind of set it up against the test of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as loosely as it is written, most of the laws on the books would not pass the test.
Yeah, no, I'm down with that.
It'd be a totally different situation if only they would obey the limited rules that they have to obey. But Trudeau's an embarrassment.
Looking at this,
nothing more to say.
At the imagery of Trudeau, like that you see on TV here, obviously it's not as detailed as stuff that you guys see. It's sorry. Basically, what I see is a guy who is enjoying the ride and doing nothing productive, and he's partying and he's enjoying being this symbol and being this thing like a drama queen. That's what I see. I haven't heard of anything like that he's actually done for you guys, or that he's tried to do, even if it was something you disagreed with. I haven't heard of much of anything. I see a guy who just enjoys being what he is.
He got us kicked out of the big boy table at like all of the conferences and stuff like that. That's one thing he's done for us.
Yeah. We're gonna have a whole Trudeau follow-up show. We've already done one episode on our show with tracking where they were at. I think 4 months into their being in power. We're gonna do another one because I like to keep track of where the politicians are at.
But even tonight we have a topic lined up that Trudeau is responsible for. Something negative.
Yeah, okay, let's do the UN Arms Trade Treaty. So Canada has finally acceded to the UN Arms Trade Treaty, which the Liberal government is directly responsible for because we've been delaying this for the better part of a decade. If you want to get a university-level education on the UN's Arms Trade Treaty, go and listen to my interview with Tony Bernardo on Canadian Patriot Podcast. There'll be a link in the show notes. As always, links to everything are in the show notes. So we finally acceded to the UN Arms Trade Treaty. So what does this mean in practical terms to Canadians and to gun owners in particular? That's an open-ended question. It's not meant to be rhetorical.
It means that we're now going to have 2 serial numbers on all of our guns because 1 is not enough.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because 1's not enough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so the UN Arms Trade Treaty is to prevent the illicit trade of small arms between nation states. So in order to do that, they're going to mark the country of origin, the country of importation, and the year of importation on the receiver of the firearm, in addition to the manufacturer's row mark and serial number. And this information will all need to be recorded somewhere, somehow.
Are they going to do that to things like scopes too, or?
For the time being, it's limited to small arms. Scopes fall under different regulations. In the U.S., they fall under ITAR. In Canada, they fall under a commerce law.
Right.
Basically, we don't care here. We pretty much don't care about anything here.
Pretty much. The only it's the states that cares about ITAR.
Well, ITAR is a U.S. regulation. That's why they care.
But Canada does not give a rat's ass, basically.
No, Canada's regulations in many ways are actually quite loose and fast, but let's not draw attention to that.
Yeah. Pay no attention to the loose and fast man behind the curtain. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like the. Never mind.
Sounds like a pride parade thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to.
You can use that as a segue later.
You can always count on me.
Yeah, don't forget to talk about speed holes when we get to that segment.
Yeah.
Different time though.
Our buddy, I guess I shouldn't say our buddy, a friend of Canadian firearms owners everywhere, MP Zimmer, had made a statement that says it's unfortunate that Canada's rigorous firearms system will now have an added layer of unnecessary red tape thanks to the decision by the Liberal government to accede to the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. So all this really does is add additional markings to the firearms. It doesn't stop the illicit firearms transfers. It doesn't do anything about regulating the sale of firearms. It doesn't do anything about regulating the ownership of firearms. It's simply on an import-export level to better track what country makes and what country imports a specific firearm.
I have a question. You guys all own guns. Is the country of origin of any of the guns you own ambiguous? Is it unknown?
No, I'm looking at mine right now, and it clearly states that it was made in the U.S.
Yeah. Mine all say made in the U.S., made in Czech Republic, made in Canada.
Yeah, mine even go to like the city and state: Columbia, South Carolina, Exeter, New Hampshire.
Yep, in a lot of cases, Salt Lake City.
No. Yeah, no, I've got the Canandaigua, New York.
Yeah, whatever. They have all weird names. Like, the thing
I
is,
think I might own a Brown, and it doesn't say where it was made.
And then,
just like the guns already have serial numbers, right? The serial numbers, when they're produced in the United States, that serial number is registered with the ATF. to show that it is a produced and functional firearms receiver, and if it is destroyed, that then has to be reported to the ATF so they can strike it from the record.
Right, because that's part of their SOT laws for firearms manufacturing in the U.S. And we have similar laws in Canada.
Exactly. So what the UN is doing to solve basically I'm not going to say it's a non-existent problem, because obviously illicit arms trafficking is a thing, but they're just doubling down on already existing ineffective legislation.
Well, okay, so on the existing ineffective legislation, you want to see a leftist's head explode? Things like the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty don't do anything to prevent General Dynamics in London, Ontario, from continuing to build and sell light armored vehicles to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, a country with like gross misconduct when it comes to human rights. That the liberals, well, I shouldn't say that. The leftists, not the Liberal Party, the leftists were up in arms over the fact that a Canadian corporation was making light armored vehicles and shipping them to Saudi Arabia without armaments, when we know Saudi Arabia is going to use them to enforce their version of Sharia law.
Yeah, how do you like Trudeau now? He's shaking hands of gay rights leaders with his left hand, and with his right hand, he's signing arms deals with a country that beheads gays.
Yeah.
Armored car deals, not arms deals. It's totally different.
I'm sorry. My mistake. My mistake, guys.
They have to attach their own guns.
That's right. They have to.
We'll build the mount for it and tell them where to put it. We just won't put the gun on.
No, don't you know that the U.S. has the gun part of that situation going? Like, you guys give them the armored vehicles, and we'll give them all the fucking machine guns. Excuse me, Andrew. Apologies.
Yeah.
We'll give them all the machine guns.
NAFTA, baby, NAFTA. That's how that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you create a self-sustaining economy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so I actually really like that General Dynamics exists in Ontario to build light armor vehicles, and the same thing with Teradyne out of Toronto, like North York area, to build armored trucks. Yeah. Because manufacturing in Ontario, holy crap, it still exists. Okay, so it's like...
I like that there was a union that was telling the NDP to get lost.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that's a heavy NDP area where that union operates in London, by the way.
Because they were against that deal.
Well, and
it is no surprise that the only heavy manufacturing industrial conglomerates that are left here are ones that are very in bed with government, with juicy government contracts.
Oh, absolutely. That's I'm not shocked about that at all. Is anybody shocked about that?
You got Coal Canada, General Dynamics, Teradyne. Who else? Who are the people that do the maintenance on the Leopard tanks? They're in Ontario too. Anyway,
oh, are they?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I sold my Leopard years ago.
Yeah, I can't afford the fuel to run mine anymore. I got rid of it.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. So the UN Arms Trade Treaty is basically a do-nothing law that we're going to be enforced on Canadians by our wonderful world order government.
Well, allow me to don my tinfoil hat for a moment, if you will.
I will make sure it's not on too tight.
The people at the UN, they are
despots, dictators.
Let's call them dictators. They're tyrannical. They're megalomaniacs. They have grand schemes, but they're not stupid. They might be sociopathic, but they're not strictly stupid.
Okay, I'll give you that. Sure.
I think that there is an end game here, and I think they know that it will have no impact on the illicit arms trade. I think what it's all about is basically when you force these markings to be printed on a gun, you're going to drive up the cost of the gun. This is in effect a gun tax, and when you tax something, you will get less of it. So if you tax guns, you will have less gun ownership. Right, you will have fewer guns being purchased, and if you have the demand collapse, then you will have fewer guns being produced for civilian or commercial distribution. The end game here is to crush the civilian gun market.
Yeah, I don't think the UN goes out of their way to hide that. I don't think that's a very tinfoil hatty thing to say.
No,
but I mean, it's been pretty clear that they don't want civilian arms owners.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we'll have to bring it up maybe in a later podcast, but I believe there's a UN document circulating around articulating the problem of reloading equipment. the ability for individual civilians to produce their own ammunition is a problem, according to the UN.
So everything with the UN is a problem as long as it's a non-state actor, which is UN speak for anyone that's not a government agency.
Ooh, non-state actors. That's a good name for a shooting team.
That will be next week's shooting
That'll be
team
next
name.
week. We decided we're gonna rotate the name of the shooting team every week.
I mean, next year, if we do zombie targets again, I'm going to spray paint blue helmets on all of them just to help practice.
Yeah, I have absolutely no use for the UN, but yeah, this arms trade treaty thing is kind of BS.
Well, yeah, just like so. Great. Now it's got the country of manufacturer and country of destination and all this and everything else. It gets sold illegally to wherever, gets used in a crime and gets left behind. So how does that help anybody?
It does.
Well, it doesn't. That's the thing. It's like Tyler said. It's a tax.
You know what it's going to do?
Yeah.
But it was never intended to.
Yeah, but
You know
that's
what it's going to do? I had a conversation with some folks yesterday about this, some decent patriots, and what it's going to do is it's going to drive up two things. I would recommend investing in machining tools, people that manufacture machining tools, seriously, and people that manufacture basically metal, because it's going to drive up the black market. You're going to have more people manufacturing their own lowers. You can find all the blueprints and everything, all the CAD designs for all of that. I mean, all that's the more laws they do, and yeah, there are going to be people that kowtow to them and just whatever, like follow them, or just end up not buying a firearm because it's a little more expensive. But it's also going to drive up the black market, and it's going to drive up, the amount of people that were legal gun owners that have the knowledge that are going to be like, you know what, F you, I'm not abiding by this crap because this is way too far, and then they're just going to become like a AR like lower manufacturer on the black market.
Yeah, but yeah, like I mean, the one dude already has those 3D printed ones that you can get, that you can make in your own home.
Yeah.
And then is an 80% lower considered a firearm? Is that going to need to get stamped?
It only matters if you import it or export it, right? Or it's the same as the laws in the U.S. where if you make it for personal consumption, or it stays within, in most states, where it stays within the state, that it's still legal.
Yeah, but are there laws about importing or exporting a block of metal?
Well,
80% lowers are available in Canada, and I highly doubt they're manufactured in Canada.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
So there you go.
Yeah, that right there, like, I mean, you don't even need to do that. You can go to Home Depot, get some pipe, spring in a nail, and there you go. There's a gun. Done.
Well, that's the thing, is guns aren't hard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to have
my gun's hard. I don't know what you're talking about.
Again, we're not talking about porn.
A firearm. The act of producing a firearm is not a difficult thing. Mechanically, it is not a complex machine.
No.
Yeah. Especially something like a one-shot, simple...
Yeah, like a zip gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, a zip gun, a Liberator pistol, the stuff the French used to assassinate Nazis during World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sten guns.
Yeah, Sten guns. Well, Sten guns are designed to be made in a home machine shop, like somebody's garage. Like, Sten guns are supposed to be easy to manufacture.
AKs are just made from a shovel, so...
AKs can be made from a shovel. Proper AKs are made in proper factory.
Yeah.
That's done.
As far as the UN is concerned, the UN got its as a camel. The nose was in the tent a long time ago. We've got half or more of the camel's body in the tent by now, and the UN Arms Trade Treaty is maybe like the third leg. Like, we're already well underway to like total disarmament, and I think we really need to have a conversation in the gun community as to how we are realistically going to repel the assault. Because advocacy, especially discreet advocacy, it's not working.
No, and it doesn't. It's going to be a matter of getting into people's faces and making people uncomfortable. The problem is the average person in Canada isn't ready to be uncomfortable at any level. They're going to call the cops.
Well, exactly. Yeah, there are lots of people. That's a beautiful way of putting it. They are not ready to be uncomfortable. That's great. That's quotable. Isolate it. That's a drop.
That's a drop. But I mean, really. I said Jewish. At first, they came for the whatever, but I didn't say anything. And then they came for the whatever, and I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then they came for the Jews, and there was no one left to speak for me, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It's the same, right? Like,
yeah. Government is in the business of creating problems that require government to solve. And the UN
the government who would build the roads.
Exactly.
This highlights the big hypocrisy I see in the leftist argument, right? Like, especially the anti-gun argument. Whether it's, transgenderism, gay pride, minority race issues, or pro-state whatever issues, or my internet, my freedom of speech, all this other stuff. They criticize us gun owners because they think we're all like, anti such and such, anti other people, anti gay, anti something. When in reality, all we are is pro leave me the hell alone. And they don't realize that they're arguing against us. We are the bulwark against tyranny, against all the stuff they believe in too. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's not just a slippery slope. It's historically proven formula. The first thing is the guns. And once the guns go, like I throw this conundrum out to leftists and the people that are pro like globalism and pro UN, all this crap. I'm like, what happens if somebody like Trump gets elected and he says Muslims, are all going to be on a watch list, and then somebody maybe gets elected and says, you know what, all gays are going to be on a watch list for whatever reason, even if you don't think it's possible. If the laws are in place that could be abused, that could happen. And guess what's going to happen then? All of our guns will be gone, and nobody's going to be able to defend these people. So it's like it throws them this paradox. It's like, does that mean all Muslims in this country or all gay people in this country, because they're on the watch list, lose their Second Amendment rights?
Mm-hmm. And you don't, as I recall, you don't have a trial before you end up on the watch list, right?
Hell no. Yeah, no, you don't even know. Like, you're not even notified. Like,
and then there's no recourse for you to be able to get off of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, luckily, all of my guns have been stolen, so I don't have any.
He's
So let me
signaling.
ask this.
Look, here's the thing. When people say that, they're just passing the buck to the next guy. It's gonna get to the point where somebody needs to, say, this is my Lexington and Concord. I'm digging my heels in right here. I'm prepared to dig my grave behind this wall. Come and take it. You better be prepared to die carrying out this order, basically, because these people will not stop. Like I said, the UN or government in general is in the business of creating problems that require government to solve. The UN is a multinational government. That is what it's full. It's even worse than a government because nobody there is elected. It's even worse. It's worse than the European Union, right? What we need to do as a nation, in my opinion, is get the hell out of the UN and stop paying attention to their nonsense and say we are a sovereign nation. We're going to run things the way we choose to run them, and we're going to do our own thing, what works for us. I really don't give a shit. Trade with all, ally with none. Just maintain that philosophy.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we get out of the UN, that'll just make it that much easier for Trudeau to keep his one promise of legalizing weed, because one of the reasons it's taking so long is because of all these treaties you signed with the UN.
Yeah, guys of the UN.
So here's a question: How did it even get to the Liberals? Why was this not killed by the Conservative government in the last 2 years of their majority?
They've been passing it off the entire time Harper's been in office by delaying it.
Yeah, they played political chess.
In the future.
They didn't want the fallout of saying no, but they also didn't want to piss off the Conservative base by saying yes, so they just deferred it.
Well, that, and I guess also, I mean, if the UN's still pushing for it, even if they did say no, what's to stop the next government to say, okay, we'll take this on, right? Like,
yeah, nothing.
It's not like it's gone for good if they said no.
Well, and that's part of the
me.
problem.
I lay this at their feet as much as the Liberals.
Yeah.
Say that again, Marty.
I said I still lay this as much at their feet as the Liberals.
They
had an opportunity to kill this, multiple times, and they never did.
They didn't have the opportunity to kill it because we've acceded to it. They had the opportunity to not ratify it, not sign it, which they did. But now we've acceded to it, which is a slightly different thing in that we don't get to make any amendments or have any say in how it works in the future.
I agree with Marty on this principle here. Is like all these people, these politicians and these statists, and they get rich off this corporatist structure, which is the globalism thing, and it's like they don't care about citizens, about sovereignty. They all get drunk with each other and drink expensive ass scotch and eat caviar and do all kinds of crazy stuff together, and they laugh, at the rest of us while they do so. They're all in it together.
I'll third Marty's comments in that, as I said before, I was very disappointed with Harper's tenure as PM. He had a lot of opportunities to do some great things with his majority and didn't do them. So I would also lay the blame at his feet. He had the power, he had it, and did nothing with it.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Before we move into the next topic, we have YouTube feedback for those of you that listen live to the show on Monday nights, starting at approximately 9 p.m. Eastern, give or take a little bit, depends on how much we've had to drink during the pre-show. We've got King Corrado. He's watching from behind enemy lines in socialist Quebec. Trigger Mugger wants to know why Gavin has been let out of his cave, which is a very good question.
This is actually my living room. So I'm still kind of in the cave.
And some feller 73 says GM Diesel used to employ 5,000 people in London. And I think that sounds about right. 5,000 people sounds like the right number to me. I'm from London. I actually used to live near there.
Didn't Caterpillar shut down too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have more comments from King Corrado.
And
the
Kellogg's.
UN wants a world. Kellogg's. Kellogg's is done there. They shut down a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So the UN wants a world government. So disarming citizens is part one of the globalist takeover of democracies, and they want us to live under a communist world state, which I think sounds a little extreme, but is not out of line.
That is truthful. If anything, it's not extreme enough. The actual truth would horrify you, in my opinion.
That should be a plug for our next episode on our podcast. We're going to be talking conspiracy theories next, so get your MF tinfoil, bitches.
I don't give the UN that much credit. They have that plan that they want. I mean, there may be people in the UN that want a world government or to live under a communist world state. I don't give the UN as a global government organization enough credit that they actually have a viable plan to do that.
Okay, this is what I refer to as the libertarian paradox, in that we maintain that the state should play as little role or no role in our lives because government is inherently incompetent. But at the same time, we also maintain that the state engages in these wide-ranging, far-reaching, deliberate acts to fuck us over and undermine culture, the family unit, etc., etc. So it's like we want to have it both ways. They're either brilliant or inept.
That's my there are definitely smart people there, but I think as an organization, they are incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you need is those few key people that are smart controlling the idiots.
Yeah, I don't really see any long game there. I think it's very much short term, trying to justify their role, trying to justify their position.
Yeah.
And because they're all very left leaning, it kind of all ends up going towards that sort of globalization type of mentality. But it's very much just trying to justify their own paycheck.
Yeah.
Now, see, I'm willing to give them that much credit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely in step with what we've seen our whole lives. Has government gotten bigger or smaller?
Well, bigger, except in places like Venezuela where it's collapsed.
Yeah, well,
so,
that's where we're going, though. I think everybody can agree that's where we're going. Like, it is totally unsustainable.
If we don't make changes,
on borrowed time. What's the national debt of Canada right now? It's like
don't even look at the national debt. Look at Ontario. We have the largest sub-sovereign debt of
300+ billion.
Yeah, we make California look like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
We have more government employees here per capita, than the entire United States. Yeah.
But should it shock anybody? And everybody just starts wanting, more healthcare. And everybody wants to maintain their healthcare. They fail to realize that healthcare is like 57% of the provincial budget. You know, like the shit costs a lot of money, and it's obviously a far-reaching apparatus. And obviously, as something becomes more complex, the government becomes less and less able to carry out that task. Like we should actually, just a suggestion, and we can kind of gauge listener interest. But we should do an episode just focusing on the healthcare system and all the fraud, waste, and abuse that goes on. We could just pick one hospital and do an entire podcast.
I could buy a lot of insurance with what my wife and I spend on taxes, and half of our taxes every year.
Exactly.
Almost everything that I needed for healthcare, I've had to pay out of my own pocket, or insurance will cover it, which I'm paying out of my pocket for. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's only because you're part of the 1% and you're a cisgendered white male.
Yeah. I'm so privileged I have to afford to pay for my own shit.
Man, that's a paradigm.
Yeah.
I'm so privileged I have to pay for my own shit. That might have to be a thing for the intro, too.
But you know what? Being able to
is a t-shirt for
sure.
Yeah.
That's just you exercising your privilege because you get the self-esteem, positive feedback loop that other disenfranchised people don't get.
Disenfranchised people. Are we ready to talk about Pride Parade and specifically Justin Trudeau's?
You got me excited there. I thought we were going to talk about getting people off the voters list.
Not quite. So, apparently...
Via helicopter?
Via the helicopter ride.
Apparently this is a big deal in our media. There's dozens of stories in all of the major news outlets about Justin Trudeau being the first Prime Minister in Canadian history to take part in the Pride Festival parade in Toronto. Because I guess that's what's important now.
Undignified of a head of state, as I said earlier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no problem with the head of state supporting whatever they want to support in their personal time or in paid public time if it's a public event, which this is, because at least up until this year, it's open to everybody. We'll get to that in a minute.
When you're the head of the state, you have no personal time. It comes with the job.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeable to that. But if he's going to participate, that's fine. Maybe not have him dance at the front of the line. Again, the whole dignified head of state thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wants to participate or be the honored guest or whatever, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm less cool with people having signs above buildings that say, like, Justin Trudeau can elbow me in the tits anytime. Things like that sort of rustle my jimmies.
Well, I mean, and I agree. Like, the gay population is part of our country and should be represented, and I think them being there is kind of a big deal. But my problem is that I don't think he's actually doing it because he cares about these people. I think he's doing it because he's trying to get their vote. Yeah, exactly. Just like he did with the marijuana crowd. I think he's pandering to the gay population, and it's not that he actually cares. It's that these are voters that I can get their vote. Because no one else is
the appearance of exactly. That's exactly it.
This is why they elected him, because he goes to photo ops and takes selfies with them.
Yeah.
It's specifically the reason he was elected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody have anything to add? Or did Marty,
well, I mean,
Marty
he was. Did he ever go to this when he was, not prime minister, but just because, right?
Yes. There are pictures of him walking around at Pride Parade with topless people in the past.
No, well, that's good for his political career.
Apparently, I mean, he won.
Yeah.
But, the thing that kind of gets me about it is, like the public roadways. You might refer to that as the commons. The public roadways are paid for by everybody, in theory.
Yeah.
And when you basically book a public asset for exclusive use, then you are saying that the government basically officially endorses this or that, or maybe better. It's better to say that you as a citizen are now subsidizing a particular activity because you have paid for a portion of this common area. And my kind of issue with it is the public sector, like the government, the state, it should be faceless. It should have no opinions. It should merely like reflect, the will of the people and do its thing and do kind of like not constitutionally might not be the best term, but it has certain obligations, and then that should be its sole role. It shouldn't be engaged in promoting or discouraging lifestyles, but that's what this wants to in Toronto.
Yeah, on the flip side, if they refused them, wouldn't that be saying the state taking a stance that they were discouraging it?
No, but I think what Tyler is saying is there's a difference between allowing it to happen and being active participants in it.
I mean, yeah, that's a part of it, but I just kind of feel like the government shouldn't be involved in it in any way whatsoever. And basically giving a group of people exclusive use of commons so they can do their thing.
Okay, so the exclusive use of commons thing kind of rustles my jimmies. Because there are things that happen at the Pride Parade that if I do any other day of the week, I would be charged for.
Absolutely.
Yes. And
that's the part that I take exception to.
I agree 100%.
Fair. Yeah, agreed.
Because it's about being able to express are attracted to people of the same sex. Not I'm going to deck myself out in leather and wear a thong or less than a thong and perform all kinds of weird acts out in public.
Okay, so the weird acts part doesn't bother me. The lewd acts part bothers me.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's like totally degenerate and whatever. Do whatever makes you happy. Just do it with a degree of a certain amount of decorum, like any other person would. That's cool. Whatever. Do your thing. Be happy. I really don't give a shit.
Well, and I even have a few friends of mine that are gay that don't go to the gay pride parade because
they probably find it disgusting.
Well, because of that, and I mean it's and it makes everybody else look bad because all the worst case scenarios of like the uber conservative that are scared of this kind of deviant lifestyle you make come true that day. Mm-hmm. Oh look, they're all hammered, they're blasted on cocaine, running around naked, having sex indiscriminately with one another in public. That's what they see, and they're like, see, this is deviant behavior. This is bad. Just like at the marijuana march when you get that 15-year-old that's stoned out of his mind, wearing a weird outfit and Mardi Gras beads, dancing around and then puking in the bushes. Like, that's not the image you want to project.
That's the image that the media interviews.
Well, yeah, because it sells. Just like whenever you see rallies about gun people, like, they don't have people that are responsible. It's the guy
in a real free with the drawl that y'all can't take my guns.
Yeah, and then popping off a few rounds into the air, and like that's because that's what sells, right? Like that's the image that people want to see, and then go, oh, I can't get behind this because of that. And
I guess my other issue with it is that it plays into the leftist narrative that gays are a persecuted group, when the reality is there's never been a better time to be gay or a better place to be gay than Canada and the United States in the modern era.
Well, yeah, we're one of the few progressive nations that won't stone you for that.
Exactly. Like you basically by being gay in this period of time in these countries, you have an elevated social status. You have an automatic like blank check written like that you can cash in on bravery for coming out, that type of thing. It's all about status, and I just I'm not seeing the discrimination. Like there's like one guy that was like beaten up in like New Brunswick and killed like a decade ago. Like people get beaten up and killed for other shit all the time in this country.
Wasn't that guy a drug dealer?
I think drugs were involved, but I mean like really like are gays really persecuted in this society? I don't think so. And so I question like, why is the government propping up this group as if they're persecuted? Because they're not propping up any other lifestyles in this country. So that's what it comes down to for me. Is I want government to obviously be a small entity if it has to exist at all. So I just wonder like why, what is the purpose of this?
Well, it's simply to create media spectacle to increase the liberal voting base because, hey, look, somebody cares.
And like I said, like I got nothing against them. Be happy, do your thing. You consensual shit. I really don't care what you do if you want to If you're a man and a woman and you don't want to have sex, you just want to shove yogurt up each other's asses, that's cool. If it makes you happy, don't care.
Have you been hacking into my webcam again, Tyler?
Whatever floats your boat, man.
But yeah,
which is kind of my opinion on everybody. Whatever floats your boat, right? Like, as long as you're not aggressing on other people, like if you don't tell somebody else how to live because it offends your delicate sensibilities, whatever. Go nuts, right? Like that's.
Yeah.
Even if you think of it like kind of on the broader spectrum, and that if you're pretending to be like a persecuted group, and I'm sure this will kind of dovetail into the Black Lives Matter thing.
I was going to say, yeah, that's
nice
a good segue. Yeah.
Nice segue. Just think if you're like impressionable youth, like standard normal, maybe normal's not the best term, but fuck it, I'm gonna use it anyway. Normal Western culture of you man and woman having kids.
You can't talk about the nuclear family. That's exclusionary.
That suddenly seems boring and nothing to be celebrated. Like it never contributed anything meaningful to the world. Whereas these people get a parade and it's colorful and vibrant, and the prime minister parachutes in from his rainbow hot air balloon and starts dancing with you, and everybody's happy. Like, what is that? What's the message that is sent to the youth? That like this is the high status thing you can do with your life. Whereas just settling down with a man or a woman and having children and having a stable family, that's boring. It's dry. It's a bland lifestyle choice, and I think that there is a problem there.
Well, I can do one better on that if you want to expand it to the never-ending youth culture that we have. How long are people in university for now? How long do people go back to live
until mommy and daddy's money runs out?
Right, and then they go back to living at home with their parents because they can't hack it in the real world as adults.
Yeah.
Like that, you have this never-ending like late teens period that goes for a lot of people into their 30s. You have like an entire decade where you used to have a year or two of being like a disenfranchised young adult. Now you have this never-ending party situation for a decade.
There are a lot of reasons for that, and that's another one you can kind of write down as like a great single episode topic, because there are multiple cultural kind of phenomena that kind of contribute to that. They make a great conversation, but it's a whole episode conversation.
I'm willing to have that conversation. We should put that in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna offend a lot of people. I'm down.
This is what we do. I mean, if you can't, no, I'm not gonna go there.
That would have made a great soundbite. Okay, shall we talk about Black Lives Matter and offend some people?
Go for it. Dive in.
All right. So Black Lives Matter Toronto was invited to Pride Parade as honored guests, and as honored guests,
Black Lives Matter
Pride Parade,
in Ontario. Is there like 4 of them?
like 6, yeah.
Toronto has a lot of vibrancy. There's an established Jamaican community.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I do enjoy Caravana though. The music is pretty good and the food's not bad.
There's actually also like a legacy population.
Andrew, stop appropriating.
Well, okay, so I like jerk chicken.
There's a lot of not a lot, but some people descended from slaves that came here with the Underground Railroad and stuff like that.
So, the Black Lives Matter people were invited to Pride as honored guests, and to thank Pride for that, they staged a sit-in that delayed Pride Parade for 30 minutes, which in the grand scheme of things probably is not all that bad. My issue with this is actually their list of demands that the Pride Parade, let's say, acceded to.
I mean, I have more issues with it than just that, but...
Okay, go ahead, lay it out.
Well, I mean, and see, this is the part that drives me nuts about the whole thing, and like, they were invited, okay? So it's not like they kind of just showed up, and then everyone was like, yeah, I guess you can get in this. They were invited. So if they had demands, they could have given them at the time of invite as a condition of accepting. Right? Like,
yeah, that's fair. Sure.
But they're the ones that chose to make this a huge political statement and take away from the fact that another marginalized group was celebrating, their hard-fought sort of win over, discrimination and stuff like that. Like,
That's a good way of putting it. It's a victory parade, not a anti-oppression parade.
Like this is their like, yes, we finally have,
Cultural
rights.
normalcy.
Yeah, and I think if the government has to issue your rights, they weren't ever really rights to begin with, and they should have just had that from the get-go. But that's a different story altogether.
My question is, how would these BLM types feel if they had like a big march and all of a dog tied and like led on a leash by other guys like at the front of their parade, like that just showed up and started, jumping on board the parade bandwagon? It's like, how would they feel about it? You know what I mean? Like, it's to me, it also boils down to respect. Really.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Like, yeah, like if all of a sudden, like a gay youth group was invited to lead like the Million Man March, and they like sat down and stopped the whole thing from happening because there's not enough gay youth represented in the Million Man March. Like, people would be like, "Get the hell out of here! Like, this is the top place. This is our thing. We've invited you to be part of this as one marginalized group recognizing another marginalized group, but don't shit on our parade, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not the only one on the panel here that's like gleefully rubbing his hands together and chuckling at the thought of two special interest groups fighting.
These are not the two special interest groups that I want to fight, but it's pretty close to the main ticket. Like,
yeah,
it'll do. I'll take it.
I really, and I know this is going to make me sound. Some people are not going to enjoy this, but I really want to see the left's reaction to the radicalized Muslims and the LGBTQR MOUSE. Like, I want to see what that happens, because the left is like, oh, well, not every Muslim is a terrible person, which I mean they're not, because it's like a religion, right?
If Orlando happened in Canada, is what you're saying?
Yes, if Orlando happened in Canada, it would be like, I would love to see the left's reaction. Which
their
side
heads
would
would explode. Their heads would explode.
Right? That's the thing. It's like, okay, so you have one group that, based on their, we'll call it a radicalized religion, wants to execute another group of people for the way they live their life, and you have this other group of people that just wants to be left alone to live their life.
Yeah.
What side does the leftist take? I want to see that. This isn't that, but this is pretty close.
It is. I mean, I have all kinds of issues with it, but I mean, the fact that they were invited, and then they say, "Oh, we demand to be included," but it's like, well, you were invited, so maybe historically you weren't, but it shows that the Pride organizers are making.
Why do they need to be included? Is Black Lives Matter like a pro-LGBTQ?
Well, I guess they were saying that there was not enough color on the panel, if you will.
Okay, but that shouldn't. The amount of melatonin, is that the thing that makes your skin colored?
I believe so.
It's melanin.
Melanin. The amount of melanin shouldn't have any relationship to your sexual orientation. Like, that's not.
No.
That's a not. Right?
Yeah, those things don't correlate. Yeah.
You're gay. I don't know.
But I mean, like.
Not very well.
Why does it matter? Like.
But I mean, and how many black gay people tried to volunteer for it and then got turned away because they were black?
I would bet very few, because I have a suspicion that the LGBTQ community cares less about whether or not you have a certain amount of melanin in your makeup, and more about like where you want to put your body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right?
even
Like,
then, I would imagine that there's not a whole lot of people that want to step up and organize, so they probably will take anyone that's qualified.
As with most volunteer organizations, right? Like, oh, you want to help? Great. Here's a thing to do. Have fun.
But I mean, but again, like they're complaining they're not included, despite the fact that they were invited. But then they're demanding that they be included, but then they're also demanding that they have their own separate space that's only for them. So how can you be included and segregated at the same time?
Because that's what they want. Like you're trying to apply logic to the acts of irrational people.
Well, yeah, but I'm a logical
you will
person,
always
so I have to do that.
That's why you will always be frustrated. Like, these people are not rational. Like, just think about what they did. They sat in on the parade to get their demands. What do you think would happen if they were if somebody had attempted to forcefully eject them and get them the hell out of the way?
There would have been a riot.
They would riot, exactly. So they had a list of demands under the threat of violence.
Yeah.
Right? These are not rational people.
Okay, so can we talk about their list of demands? Because their list of demands is something that I actually find... Because, again, your career choice is not related to your LGBTQ-ness. Can we talk about the city article?
According to the Bureau of Land Management, it is.
Different BLM, but I like where your head's at.
It's the same beast. It's the same beast.
I bet. I believe that. I do believe that. So, City News article. We've got
another plug for a conspiracy theory episode.
Remember to check out the conspiracy episode of the International Liberty or Death podcast, airing on all of the fine podcast catchers near you.
Bazinga!
That's good. Okay, so City News article. We got an open letter from a police officer that works for Toronto Police Service, who's an openly gay, serving TPS member, former CAF member, and the gist of it is TPS doesn't care if he's gay. Nobody really seems to care if he's gay, or at least I get the impression from his open letter that nobody cares that he's gay. But this was his first Pride Parade, although he's somehow been a cop for 8 years in Toronto, and this is his first Pride Parade, so I guess he's been taking weekends off. I don't know.
Was that open to everybody?
Yeah, that's open. Give her.
I don't know, man. I'm almost like tapping out on this topic. The dude, hold on. Give me 30 seconds. I got to put my thoughts together here. Somebody fill the air.
Let's fix it. Silence and wait for Tyler.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Well, are we racking firearms? Did I not get invited to that?
I don't know. Like, what do you do with this guy? I mean, for the one, I don't even understand what is with the craze of everybody issuing like an open letter. Like, people give a shit what their opinions are. What's up with that? Like,
pretty sure we do that weekly.
When did that become a?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the open letter in that you can submit this to a news agency and somebody will publish it and people will read it and comment on it.
Okay.
Sort of like we're doing
let me
right now.
interject. Okay, so this guy, he's got an open letter because he objects to his exclusion, and he's like victimized because he's a police officer, right? And it's like the Blue Lives Matter subgroup now. This is the new victim group. Like, there are people that get victimized like all over the country for one reason or another, and like they're never given like the time of day. I just don't understand like the media fanfare. I just don't get it.
It's because all the people in the media are people that came up through a specific academia that are bred and born into cultural Marxism, and that's why that's all they show. When in reality, it's like, there's certain groups where no matter what you do, you will never be able to play the victim card. It's designated for various groups. And, I've got friends that could be part of all these different victim groups, but at the same time, a lot of them talk a lot of shit about the people that play the victim card. It's one thing to acknowledge that there's disparity in various systems of culture and judicial systems, but at the same time, like, instead of playing the victim card, like, do something about it actively, not just.
Right.
To me, the whole thing, like, a lot of this stuff really boils down to like whining and not being able to get a job.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, and I do agree. Like,
you know,
Somebody else take it.
like I said, it doesn't mean there aren't serious issues in the system of government and in the judicial system, especially when it comes to like marijuana laws in this country and the ridiculous amount of minorities it puts in jail for over a friggin' plant. Like, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, instead of crying about it and making a group and like doing stuff on college campuses, like, you know, do something productive with it. Don't burn down your community. Like, think about who's actually like hurting you and being unjust against you and do something about it. Is all I'm saying.
But they never will, as long as the establishment keeps making excuses for that behavior.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they do, right? Like if BLM acts out and starts a riot and burns down a CVS, oh, it's because of oppression, right? It's because of poverty. Like burning down a CVS improves your economic situation, or beating somebody's face in with a brick improves their economic situation. Like, I'm tired of the excuses, and that's why I don't give these people the time of day. That's why I have no respect for them, and that's why I talk shit about it, because it means nothing. It's signaling, right? All they want is status and money.
That's exactly right.
They want your fucking money. That's what it comes down to. They want money for nothing.
If they actually cared about black lives, they would do something to improve black lives.
Exactly. This was all about attention. And they put the demand in there to exclude the cops because there's a lot of anti-police sentiment amongst the populace right now, and like tactically speaking, probably a good move because it's pretty popular to hate the cops right now. And it's not just because of police brutality and stuff like that, which happens obviously, but it's not nearly the problem that people make it out to be.
No.
People have animosity towards the cops because the cops enforce bullshit laws that originate from the state, and people aren't really ready to admit that the government's the problem and not the police.
Yeah.
Right? Well, so, I mean, there's that to deal with, too. There's a lot of facets to this issue.
Why hasn't Black Lives Matter gone and done a sit-in in Congress?
Because that would be addressing the problem. And why would they do that? Because if they address the problem and actually resolve it, then the gravy train's over. And like I said, it's about your money.
Yeah.
And status and symbol amongst peers.
That's all it is. Like I said, and you know, this ties into even the gun owner thing we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. It's a fight that they know they can win. They're not actually standing up for anything. They know that the people at the Gay Pride Parade are going to give in to their demands. They're not fighting an enemy. They're signaling to people that they know, their peers essentially, who are going to bow to their demands. Right? There is no fight, and there never was. There was never going to be a fight, and they know it. That's why they play the game this way.
I don't know. I think it's a travesty in my opinion. I think people need to spend if people spent less time focusing on whose group is more victimized than the other, then we could actually come together and attack the real problem, which is the state. Seriously, like, you know, it's like you talk to various people about, like, you know, that are like uber like Christian or whatever, and you look at, like, you know, threats that like Europe's facing. Some people are like socially liberal and some people are Christian, democratic, whatever, and you look at like even, you know, pagan or atheist people up there. It's like, guess what, put all the other stuff aside and face the current threat, you know, together, because it's a common enemy. And that's what I don't understand. Like, all these victim groups, they have the common enemy as us, as gun-owning libertarians or gun-owning whatever, just free-thinking people. Like, we literally all have the same enemy, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious in a sad, in a pathetic way that a lot of these victimized groups would assume that people like us are part of the problem, are the enemy, you know, when in reality we're fighting the same battle. It's just they're brainwashed by the propaganda and the media to think that, the problem's not actually the people in Congress and the cultural Marxist systems that are set up in these urban centers to make their plight what it is. The problem's actually the people that are, you know, that own guns and like to go shooting and talk about liberty.
Yeah.
Dude, Andrew, next time we talk about these topics, I think you should probably put a condom on your computer so it doesn't get API.
To be fair, I talked to Brian Bolivar recently.
So did I.
I'm
Yeah, I don't
telling
know.
you.
My internet shit bad. So anyway, I'm back.
Don't worry, we only dropped a few C-bombs while you were gone.
That's fine. No problem. Are we done with Black Lives Matter?
I
Yes, we
think
are.
That's a loaded statement if I've ever heard one.
yeah, we've gotten as deep
We gotta
into the
save that for a
subject as we can
drop.
go. Yeah.
I would like to say, though, that I am going to be on the Blue Lives Matter shit list because I have killed a few blues this evening. Just
Nice.
saying.
Hashtag all lives matter, except the ones I want to throw to helicopters.
They
So,
still matter, they're just in a
Is it-
different way.
Is there not a White Lives Matter movement? Like, is that
No,
not-
that's racist. You can't do that.
It's racist.
Fuck. I mean, next you're gonna say that you're gonna be a cisgendered male.
I don't even. I still don't remember what that is. I think that every time it's been explained to me, I've been wasted. So I
It
don't.
means it means
Tyler
that.
looked it up.
Well, I looked it up. I already knew what it meant, but I looked it up to prove its etymology and its roots in Latin because you proclaimed that it didn't have those roots.
I
But
believe that was about 5 minutes before you passed out on the bed, though.
a cisgendered person is a person who identifies with their biological gender.
So basically, it's like long speak for saying that a male is a male. So instead of
Yeah.
just saying male, you say cisgendered male.
And if you have a dong and nuts and you identify as a man, you're a cisgendered piece of shit. And the best thing you can do for the world is never breed and just die and give all of your money to BLM.
And we're not talking about the Bureau of Land Management.
It's
Well,
the same
them
beast.
too.
It's the
Them
same
too.
beast, like I said. You know.
Who, you know what? We're fucked. Like, we're fucked.
No, we're not. We have all the guns.
We have some of the guns. The government also has some of the guns.
No, and you know what? They
But
like.
some
I mean,
of
that's
our
a whole
guns have
rabbit
been
hole.
stolen.
That's a whole rabbit hole, and I kind of touched on it by saying that like the gay movement is kind of like juxtaposed against kind of the traditional Western culture, and maybe we can get into that in a future episode. But there is an assault there, and I don't think it's really deniable. There is a concerted effort on the part of the state to undermine the traditional Western culture, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. But
Future show topic. I think that's
Future show
I think
topic.
that's the
Future show topic. That's at least 2
topic.
hours.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a
So
12 beer topic.
that is a 12 beer topic.
Oh,
So
easy.
last article for this evening. Ding dong, the witch is dead, and I don't mean win, but I kind of wish I did. So the
that was
Canadian pension
clever,
plan-
Andrew.
You're like that? That's what a couple of beers will do for you. I get witty as I get drunk. Anyway,
Unless
the
he's into
Canadian
the
pension-
shine.
oh fuck you.
You also get you should go to a pride movement and see how many numbers you can get.
All of them. I have a majestic beard. They would be all over that.
We are a hot commodity in the gay community. We're what
You
they call
betcha.
Beard.
bears. Husky dudes with beards.
Oh yeah, the beards is what's up.
Effeminate people love me. Women, men, whatever. Doesn't matter. Effeminate people love me.
Must be your teddy bear like appearance.
I'm pretty sure everybody just wants to cuddle.
Yeah.
They like the beard tickles.
Who
I
doesn't?
do hear it.
Who doesn't, though?
It's not winning them over with personality.
Yeah.
Well, hey, when you got this to work with, what do you expect? Cutting all of that, by the way.
What are you smoking or drinking? He's over there like, oh.
From the beard tickling. All right, last show topic for this evening. The Canadian Pension Plan enhancement kills the Ontario Pension Plan. This comes to us from Sun News. I'm super happy about this because I already have my privately funded work pension, my Ontario pension plan, and my self-managed pension plan. So I really didn't need the Ontario government taking more money of mine to give me a pension plan that they were going to manage and somehow do a better job at it than I could do on my own.
Is that through work? Is that like a work, like mutual fund or something, or
No, so in Canada, we have a Canadian pension plan which is managed by the federal government. It's not old age security, but it's kind of like old age security. You pay into it; it comes off your paycheck automatically.
right? So it's similar to our Social Security.
But we have that too, because you do get old age security. So regardless of what you worked, you get money for just being old, right? Socialism.
Socialism, dude. Don't try and understand it.
The only system so good, people make rafts out of garbage to escape it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So you get your old age security just by virtue of you're old, and it's a pittance. It's not. I won't say they shouldn't give you that money, but I mean, like, it's not worth getting that. Like, if most people didn't get that money, it wouldn't impact their budget in a significant way.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and then on top of that, you get the Ontario Pension Plan, which you have to pay into through your employer. It's an employer deduction, like an at-source deduction, and it goes to the federal government, and they manage it, and you turn 67, I think, is the arbitrary number of the week, because they've changed the goalpost a couple of times.
Yes, 67 is correct.
And then you get an amount based on what you contributed over the lifetime of your contributions to the Canadian pension plan.
Yeah.
In Ontario, our wonderful nanny state premier proposed having an additional Ontario pension program, which is basically like a small version of the Canadian pension program. At-source deduction managed by the state, in this case the province rather than the Fed. And at retirement, at some arbitrary age, which they would, I'm sure, move the goalposts, you would receive some amount of monies on a regular basis.
It's not even at retirement. It's at that age they force you, because my father went and is still working past retirement, but they force him to take that.
Right, so they just give you this money back, and it's...
Yeah.
In addition to that, if you're like me, you can get an employer-matched pension program. So I pay in, I think it's 3.5% of my salary, and my employer matches that, and that's also like my company-sponsored pension. In addition to the at-source deductions for the Canadian pension program and old age security and social welfare and yada, yada, yada. The good news is, with all of this, they've changed the Canadian pension program so that the stuff that they were going to do in the Ontario pension program is basically null and void now. They're not going to be able to do it. So, yay, saving $34 a month on average as a taxpayer in Ontario.
Yeah, if I need that in my pension plan, I'll just get the interest on my checking account or savings account.
Well, yeah, I guess that's worth mentioning, too. So that's the other method of pension, and I have one of those pensions. So in Canada, you can have it'd be, I guess, the equivalent of a 401k or a Roth IRA, and it's the self-managed RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Program, which is typically done through a financial institution of your choosing, and you manage it through a variety of investment vehicles based on your financial institution. Typically things like guaranteed investment certificates, cash accounts, or mutual funds.
what? Like, I just don't even understand. Like, why there's so much redundancy. Like, the socialism is so multi-layered and redundant up there.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly the problem, and this is why I've been, like, complaining about the Ontario pension plan since I heard about its inception, because I'm like, originally there was an exemption. If you had a company-sponsored or, like, an employer-sponsored pension program, you were exempt from the OPP. And I was like, so I, like, immediately ran to the girl in HR. Are we going to be exempt? We don't know. We have to find out. Okay, I really need to know this. It's important to me. Go forth and find out. Gain knowledge and come back and explain it to me. And they said, we think we're going to be exempt. Because the sum of what this issue is that at some level, government feels they can manage your money better than you can. That's all it boils down to. Right? We already have multiple redundant retirement investment vehicles, and this was just another layer of government saying we know better how to handle your money than you do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of confused-looking looks.
No, that's exactly what they do. I mean,
I was just reading the show comments on YouTube.
They're pretty good, eh? This week's commentary is
I need
spicy.
to get onto YouTube because I'm missing out.
Did we anger some people with our previous comments?
No, actually, let's refer to the YouTube comments before we start doing the outro and wrap up the show, because it's past my bedtime. So then Victory says yes to a show on healthcare crap. Meetow says, I noticed he has a lot of free time. This is probably in reference to Shiny Pony.
He does.
King Corrado says he could profit from legalization. Liberals only do things that profit them. And Triggermugger says, hey Gavin, the poster boy for cultural appropriation has no right to blame anyone else.
Hey, as I've said to Ben before, my cultural appropriation is me embracing my cultural whiteness and our domination of other cultures and absorbing them into our own. So that's just me representing my culture in the best way possible. So, I mean, colonialism, baby. Colonialism.
Okay, I guess with that, let's start wrapping up the show. We'll do the outro, because there's nothing I can do to save this train wreck. Rapid! This train wreck is amazing. I would watch this if I were not participating.
Multiple train cars of awesome.
Did anybody throw in? Never mind. I'm not going there. Never mind.
Rapid fire feedback. We've got an email from John. What an original name.
Sounds made
Dear
up.
Canadian Patriots podcast.
You made this shit up, I bet.
No, this is like a little email I got. I didn't even type this out myself.
I love that you're hammered and you now have an American flag in front of you.
It's Independence Day, dude.
That happens to all Americans when they get drunk.
Only for another 45 minutes or whatever, 55 minutes.
Like 2 hours, dude. It's 10:03.
No, I guess you're on Texas time.
Yeah, Texas.
Texas.
You guys are still going to secede anyway soon, so you won't even have to celebrate Independence Day. You'll have your own Independence Day.
We'll have a Texan Day.
Yeah.
Can you just make it the same time as the last time Texas had Independence Day so you don't have to change the calendars?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Just time the secession for that day.
And you should go kill a bunch of Mexicans just for old time's sake.
Yeah, just call it like Alamo Day or something.
That seems...
This is weird.
So what were you saying about trying to write this train wreck?
Yeah, there's no coming back from this. It is officially off the rails. Rapid fire feedback. We have email from John. John says, Dear Canadian Patriots podcast, kudos for not being simply Canadian on the internet, but being Canadian and bearded on the internet. I am, as of yet, to succeed on any of these things. Since you're always asking for hate mail and I'm full of hate, disdain, and undercooked chicken, it behooves me to submit unto you a terse admonition? Admonition? I don't know. To address the topic of Canadian firearms laws and their so-called, quotes, legal loopholes forthwith.
What the hell is wrong with Matt?
Texas.
Yeah.
In particular, yours truly.
He got into the shine.
I swear to God, I will. In the peculiar, yours truly ponders at, and he's got 3 points. The continued ability to argue capacity restrictions save lives in light of how easily circumvented they are, legally or otherwise. The absence of 50 Beowulf pistols seems kind of obvious. Whether anyone has tried 9mm in 45 GAP and 45 ACP and 50 GI Glock magazines. In any event, thanks for the informative parts of your show. I didn't know I could sign petitions as a non-resident. The other parts are interesting too. Sincerely, John. Thanks, John. We appreciate the feedback. I guess we should address his 3 points particularly. I'm not entirely sure how he is not bearded and a Canadian. In order to become a cisgendered male Canadian at residency, you must present with a beard. It's part of the rules for immigration and customs.
Yeah. You have to have a beard and a skull from each racial group. You have to submit to customs,
Including white.
including white.
Yeah, each.
Yeah, there's plenty of
You want
commie
to be
whites that you can
discriminatory.
take out. Yeah.
Okay, so should we ponder at the gun laws in Canada along with John?
I mean, the reason I think there's no 50 Beowulf pistols is because that would be one hell of a pistol.
It would be badass.
There are 50 Beowulf pistols, actually.
That's got to be something to shoot one-handed.
Well, okay, so AR-15 pistols are like a thing in the U.S., right? Because you get around the U.S.'s short barrel rifle laws by making it a pistol. Basically, just it's a rifle. It's an AR-15 with no butt stock.
But it makes
right?
what would be a badass rifle like super lame.
Yeah, it is very lame.
Well, because you have to stick the buffer tube under your arm, but not shoulder it though.
It's awful.
Super lame.
It's awful. I don't know how they live with that. That's one thing that I do prefer here.
Yeah.
10.5-inch AR, good to go.
Yeah.
Same as every other AR, good for use at a range.
No fingerprints required.
So you can get 50 Beowulf ARs up here, 50 Beowulf pistols, but they're just treated like every other AR. There is no distinction between an AR rifle and an AR pistol.
But does anyone actually own? I mean, I know we have a whole lot of 50 Beowulf magazines, but like I've only heard of one guy that actually owns a 50 Beowulf AR.
It doesn't matter. It just needs to be considered in common use, and by that I mean have an FRT number.
Well, yes, and that's why they didn't allow the 10-round, 7.62 by 39 VZ58
pistol mag.
Because they didn't let that guy bring one in because nobody could fire that as a pistol. But a 50 Beowulf pistol actually exists. Like someone actually shoots that because that's a ridiculously big round.
I've actually seen a single shot 308 pistol.
Is that a Thompson Center?
I don't remember, but it was pretty cool.
That's ridiculous.
I guess the second part of this guy's question, it has to be, is there 10-round 50 Beowulf pistol mags?
Not in Canada.
Well,
right.
But if there's a pistol, there should be.
Exactly. I think that's where this question is going.
Well, the pistol must be commonly available in Canada. If it is not commonly available in Canada,
Sorry, go ahead.
If the pistol is not commonly or deemed to be not commonly available in Canada, then the magazine capacity restriction is actually 5 rounds, not 10.
Yeah.
So who determines the common?
The RCMP, the dictators, the Mounties, the horsemen.
Well, the good news is with common use up here is basically once it has an FRT number, there is no quota on how many have to be available or not.
It just has to be commonly available, which means that it's not like special order. Or whatever. It's just I can order this if I want to.
Even special order, I would think would qualify because anybody with a credit card could get it. Right?
Well, I guess by special it means
never been imported before kind of thing. As long as it's got an FRT number, it's good to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep saying FRT. Firearms reference table is FRT. That's the thing the Mounties use to.
It means they've looked at it and said you could import this if you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's a question: if we actually got 10-round 50 Beowulf pistol mags, which would essentially be 20 round or 25 round 223?
It'd be 30.
30.
Would it be full 30? Wow.
Yep.
All right. So
or at least 28.
Assuming that actually happened, how long do you think those would exist in the market before Liberals changed the laws around how mags are classified?
Well, I'm not super confident that they wouldn't try and change it, but I mean, how long has the LAR mag been around?
Yeah,
but 10-round AR pistol mags, it's a thing.
Right, and they're not happy about it. I just think that if we actually got to that point, that's kind of the last poke at the bee's nest kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that the liberal bureaucracy that existed even under the conservative government tried to fight us tooth and nail on everything. For example, they gave us the ruling with the Ruger 1022 Charger pistol, declaring anything made for the Ruger 1022 was also therefore made for the 1022 Charger pistol and was subject to those mag restrictions. So the BX25 mag, we got screwed.
Well, not entirely though. Only the Ruger branded ones.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah.
anything that Ruger manufactured explicitly for the 1022 was also therefore made for the 1022 Charger. So we got screwed, right? Any loophole, or let's just say not loophole, but any avenue through the legal framework where they could screw us, they did. Yeah. And that shouldn't come as a shock to anybody.
Although I'm curious, though.
A politician tried to screw somebody? I'm
curious, though. So, obviously, the Butler Creek makes 25-round 22 magazines for the rifle only.
Yeah.
That are identical to the Ruger ones, except it's clear plastic instead of black. So if I were to put that in a pistol, would that be legal? Because it fits?
It would be legal. It would be legal.
So what about my 110-round GSG
drum magazine?
That would also be legal. But you have to read the law. And the law specifically refers to a magazine's original design and intent.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, because, I mean, like, how many different firearms have interchangeable magazines, right? Like,
yeah. But that's the thing, though, like, and it's so ridiculous because, I mean, I have my, 9mm carbine that uses pistol magazines, so it's okay, it's legal. And then, yeah, if that 110-round drum magazine still fits in the pistol, they haven't effectively done anything to limit that, because if that's still considered legal, then
I think for the frontline officers, it has to be that way. Like a frontline officer, if they find you with a 10-round mag, you're like, what are they going to say? Well, I'm not going to use it with this rifle, like unless they actually catch you with more than 5 rounds in a rifle. Like it becomes so difficult for them. It's a lot easier if the mags are kind of looked at on their own merit. So if a frontline officer comes across that mag, they can tell that mag is either a prohibited mag or it's not.
Well, I disagree in the sense that the easiest thing for the officer is that there's no such thing as a prohibited magazine.
Exactly.
The only thing that should be illegal is actually killing somebody or threatening them with bodily harm. But yeah,
your libertarianness is showing again.
That's not where we are.
No, I completely agree. I'm saying if you're going to have that, if you're going to have a mag restriction, you have to do it. You have to do it by the mag, not the.
Exactly.
Wouldn't it just make more sense to like ban the Charger pistol then?
Well, Canadians would probably prefer to see the Charger pistol gone, because there's probably only like a dozen guys that ever owned one in the country, but there are probably thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that own 1022 rifles that want the Ruger brand BX25 mag that they know will work 100%. Because there are people that have problems with the Butler Creek ones, and they work all right. I have a couple.
The steel lip ones are better than the plastic lip ones.
Yeah, for sure. But
although that GSG 110-round drum magazine works like a charm every time.
Nice.
Yeah. Even and I know when I bought that one off of you, you were saying that you only put like CCI Blazer in it.
No, I never put Blazer through it. It was CCI Mini Mag.
Oh wow, but good quality. Man, I've been running garbage bulk Winchester 22 hollow points through that drum magazine, and I have not had one failure yet.
Glad to hear it.
It shoots like a champ. Yeah.
The only failure on those magazines is actually the ammo in the cheap 22s, just like the primer not going off.
Yeah.
I've probably shot 5,000 or 10,000 rounds through my drum mag, and it's never been like a primer failing to go off.
Yeah,
and
I've had one or two of those,
but the other side, it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, one or two maybe where I've got a good strike, but it just hasn't gone off. But like the drum magazine itself, and it completely cycles every time. It works great. Even at like crazy rapid fire.
So, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the entire magazine argument is
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah. Because I mean, it's a magazine, right? Like.
I mean, even if we're stuck with, say, like magazines are physically limited, like not artificially limited, but the physical dimensions of the mag limit you to 5 rounds. The best way around the magazine capacity restriction then is just reloading. It takes
get another mag. Yeah.
It takes like 2 seconds to reload. Like that is a human. Like let's say let's just say, for argument's sake, you are like raining hellfire down onto a group of people you do not like. So you've like walked into the Liberal Party convention, and you're doing your thing.
Not that we're naming names.
Not that we're naming
if we
names.
were gonna.
This could be any Liberal Party.
Oh my god.
And,
Not the actual Liberal Party, but just a liberal party.
Yeah, any one of them around the world, what doesn't matter. So you're doing your thing, and in the 2 seconds it takes you to go from last shot in the original mag to the first shot in the second mag, is that amount of time is not enough time for somebody in the crowd to not only realize that you have run empty, but then also decide on a course of action and react, and then close the distance between the two of you. Like it's a total pipe dream.
Well, especially like if you got someone that's counting rounds,
Yeah.
and changes that magazine before that last round is fired,
Yeah.
then that even decreases the time.
Yeah. Well, realistically speaking, you're not going to be counting rounds.
No,
How many
but
times did you run your gun dry on Saturday, Gavin?
every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Okay, but Gavin is maybe not the guy that we're using as a benchmark.
Well, I ran my gun dry at least two times. I saw Jeff run his gun dry. All kinds of
everybody
all
did it.
kinds of guys
It
that
happens,
played better
'cause
than
once
me
you start
in the
shooting,
match.
you don't remember.
Ran their
Yeah.
gun
That's the thing.
and a friendly match in a like best 4 of 6 series is a very low pressure situation.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Except until
It
that
really
beat
doesn't
goes,
matter.
then it's all bets off.
total yard sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole magazine argument is a non-starter issue in my opinion. Like it.
No, I actually watched a video where a guy timed it, and he had like 5 round, 10 round, 20 magazines, and like the difference in time to get off the same number of shots was minuscule.
Well, okay, so real world example for CQB matches that I run at CFB Borden, the expectation is you can do a magazine change from your last shot magazine change and your next shot on a fresh mag needs to be under 3 seconds or you will not be competitive.
Yeah.
That's not a ton of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the entire thing is a non-starter in my book. Like the whole magazine thing in any respect is it's strictly a paperwork law to keep law-abiding gun owners from breaking a law. It does nothing.
No, and that's why we like our loopholes, because we will take advantage of them.
I just look forward to the day where the government is so unable to enforce the laws that we can just pop the rivets out and never give it a second thought.
Yeah, really.
But then we're going to have all these holes in our magazines that dust can get in.
It's fine.
You'll be okay.
Shoot it clean.
Just go to your safe space. All right, let's wrap up the rest of the show. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can do that at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or by visiting CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback. Remember, I love your hate mail. You can send that to me at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Be sure to include details about how the show triggered you and why you should visit your safe space on the internet. I totally fucked that up. Whatever, don't care. All right, nobody filled out the show notes. Left to right on my screen, we'll start with Gavin. Gavin, where's the best place for people to stay in touch with you on the internet?
The best place you can find me is on the Instagram at urbex_GTA.
All right, and Tyler, where's the best place for people to find you on the internet?
You can check out Matt and I. We've got a Facebook page, facebook.com/LibertyDeathPodcast. We do the International Liberty Death Podcast about every 2 weeks. And we're on Instagram and Twitter at Liberty Podcast. And you can check out the shenanigans that Gavin, myself, and Jeff get into with the non-state actors shooting team. Follow our Instagrams for that.
Marty, do you believe in the internet?
The internet's a thing now.
Do you have a social media presence yet?
Not at all.
Right on. Matt, where's the best place for people to stay in touch with you on the internet?
Like Tyler said, International Liberty Death Podcast is where I spend most of my days doing internet shenanigans. So check us out there. I'm I'm sure we'll be doing much more stuff together with you guys in the future. So we're just keeping it real, man. We do have. I just want a third plug here. We got a conspiracy theory episode coming up. So get your tinfoil and get ready to rub one out in the name of liberty.
That's needlessly graphic.
Hopefully not with the tinfoil. That might hurt. But hey,
Yeah.
if you choose to do that, that's your deal.
The tinfoil is to catch.
So, what
So that nobody else
Make
can
it
feel
like
it.
the shape of like the Little Dipper, and be like, I'm gonna aim.
So what kind of conspiracy theories can we be expecting? Are we getting like the Alex Jones style? Are we talking like aliens and flat Earth?
Well, at least from my perspective, I've got a fascination with a lot of the black projects that our government's been doing.
You mean like Agenda 21?
No, actually, for me, particularly the black aircraft projects that we have, like the hypersonic vehicles and stuff. And there's a lot of shit going on with that, conspiracy related. Also on when it comes to how complicit the government is with basically the black projects in terms of regime change and how that all applies to the interconnections in the globalist kind of realm. So talking about UN today and all that shit, the interconnectivity between the 1% oligarchs and corporatists and say our country and then all the rest of the countries, and how that plays into the EU, NATO, and the UN and all that shit. It's
Please tell me you're going to at least mention Jade Helm.
In the
That's the thing. That's the thing. One thing I do want to separate out is like some of the stuff that like I think there's a limit to. Well, tune into the episode if you want to check it out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
Should be good stuff for sure.
I dig it. As always, my name is...
I was just looking quickly, talking about the non-state actors shooting team. The photos that I posted on the Instagram, Tyler, in case you're interested. You have 26 likes as opposed to Jeff's 18. So he may have beat you time-wise and point-wise, but you were crushing him on the Instagram.
Fucking right. What's his Instagram?
Well, no, just on the photos that I posted of the two of you guys.
Oh,
I don't think Jeff believes in the Instagram.
probably not.
Good man.
That's because he also supports the Quebec gun registry.
Yeah. He totally does, too. I heard him talking about it to himself.
Yeah. What a statist.
Between stages, he was like, damn, I hope they get that registry up and running soon.
I can't wait to register my guns in Quebec.
As always, my name is Andrew. You can find all my work on everydaytactical.com or Instagram and Twitter at @edtactical. We'd like to wish the Americans a happy treason day. I fucked that up. We'd like to wish the ungrateful colonials a happy treason day in America. Yeah, I see you flipping me off. I'd like to wish our fellow Canadians a happy...
That's for the king back in the day, Fuck him. Come and take
Ungrateful colonials. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A happy Dominion Day to my fellow Canadians, or those of you that insist on calling it Canada Day. And we'd like to remind all our listeners, like we do every week, that you are the true North, strong and free.